Thanks for joining us for this edition of Stay at Home Connect. I'm Phyllis Jackson.
Governor Brian Kemp signs an executive order banning vaccine passports in the state of Georgia. The governor's Twitter page says vaccination is a personal decision between each citizen and a medical professional, not state government. Moderna seeks to adjust its FDA's emergency use authorization to include children as young as 12. The company says a clinical trial of its COVID-19 vaccine is shown to be 93% effective in children from 12 to 17, 2 weeks after the first shot, and 100% effective 2 weeks after the second vaccination. Nearly 4,000 kids took part in the trial. Officials say the most common side effect included pain at the injection site, and the most common side effects after the second shot included muscle pain, chills, fatigue, and headaches. Moderna's CEO says the company plans to submit its findings to the FDA early next month. Moderna is also currently conducting clinical trials involving kids from 6 months of age to 11. We caught up with Dr. Andy Shane, Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at Emory School of Medicine, to learn what the FDA authorization could mean for kids in this age group.
We are celebrating those efficacy numbers because it really does help to reinforce the value of the vaccine. And I think this is really an important adjunct to what is available. Strongly encourage families to become immunized, adults in the families, children in the families. This is really important for trying to make sure that we have a summer, that we're able to get children back to school. The more children who we can get immunized, the better we will be. And these vaccines really have had notable efficacy with very minimal side effects. And we just really are only beginning to learn about the long-term manifestations of COVID-19. So anything that we can do to prevent infection, to both protect ourselves and also those in the community who cannot always be protected is very, very important.
If you are a Georgia resident who is sick, shut in, or homebound because of a physical or mental disability and cannot travel to a COVID-19 site, you can request a vaccination at home. Just send an email to hvs@dph.ga.gov. That's hvs@dph.ga.gov. Or you can call the Department of Public Health at 888-572-0112. Atlanta City Council members Jennifer Ide and Michael Bond present a proclamation to restaurateur Tom Murphy of Murphy's, which celebrates 40 years of service to Atlanta.
I'm just so excited that Murphy's, Tom says that they're back to their pre-COVID business. People are out and about. He's making it a safe place to eat. I've been back here, and it's one of my favorite places, and I hope people will get out as they feel comfortable and back into their local restaurants.
We're out here downtown today celebrating the completion of 4 projects that were voted on during our Downtown Decides participatory budgeting process. And we're riding a bike from one location to the other to do a ribbon cutting in each of the 4 transportation projects. Some of the projects we're celebrating today are new bike lanes in the Central Business District, the painting of an island in the middle of the road yellow so people can see it, and some new trash cans in the Sweet Auburn corridor. This is the direct result of citizens participating in this program. This is the first time we've done participatory budgeting in Atlanta, and it puts the power directly in people's hands on how tax dollars are spent, and we're just thrilled with the response and the success of the program so far.
Chastain Park is the largest park in the city of Atlanta. This is the last piece of the Chastain Park path, and it's taken over 25 years since it began, and we are here at a groundbreaking to celebrate this last piece getting ready to start. You know, the phrase, it takes a village. Well, it certainly takes a village here. There have been lots and lots of organizations who have helped make this happen. I think there are over 500,000 people and probably about 250,000 dogs that use the path each year. It's an asset that is used by many, many people, from young people walking along to people on bikes to people running and exercising and folks coming after work to enjoy a stroll in the park. And the path has really been a catalyst for revitalizing the park, and so lots of park partners here today with NYO and the horse park and the pool, and it's a wonderful time to celebrate together.
Now therefore we, the members of the Atlanta City Council, on behalf of the citizens of the city of Atlanta, who hereby proclaim this day, May the 22nd, 2021, as Tom Murphy Day in our fair city. In witness thereof, we cause the seal of the city of Atlanta to be hereunto affixed. Congratulations.
We're here today to celebrate Tom Murphy and 40 years of his restaurant Murphy's in the heart of Virginia Highland. That's unusual these days to have a business owner, locally owned, lives in the area for that period of time. And, you know, he serves a fantastic meal. It's a place people come for baby showers, for brunches, for weddings, and he's been tremendous in giving back to the community as well. I'm just so excited that Murphy's, Tom says that they're back to their pre-COVID business. People are out and about. He's making it a safe place to eat. I've been back here, and it's one of my favorite places, and I hope people will get out as they feel comfortable and back into their local restaurants.
All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. This is Councilmember Jennifer Ide, Chair of the Finance Executive Committee. The time is now 10 a.m. on Thursday, May 27th, and welcome to the last day of the City Council review of the Mayor's proposed fiscal year 22 municipal budget. I'm joined by my Vice Chair, Howard Shook of the Finance Executive Committee, Council President Felicia Moore, and I'm waiting to get an update on other council members who were able to join this morning. I'm sure that people will cycle in and out as their schedules permit. For today's schedule, we have 3 presentations, and I'm just making sure that we are online. I don't want the public to miss any of this. Give me 1 minute and let me make sure that we're up and on channel 26. All right, I just want to confirm that we are on channel 26 for anybody trying to watch from home. So if you're on social media or on the phone line, just give us another minute or so and we're going to get rolling. Okay. I'm going to start over just so we can catch this on channel 26. So, good morning, everybody. This is Councilmember Jennifer Ives. The time is now 10:02 on Thursday, May 27th, 2021, and today is the last day of the City Council review of the Mayor's proposed fiscal year 22 municipal budget. I'm joined this morning by my Vice Chair, Howard Shook of the Finance Executive Committee. I know the Council President, Felicia Moore, is with us, and other members will be cycling in and out as their schedules permit. We have our final 3 presentations today. We're going to have the Office of Inspector General in just a minute from 10 to 11, the City Auditor's Office from 11 to 11:30, and the Atlanta Citizen Review Board at 11:30. An electronic copy of the budget book and all presentations can be found under the proposed fiscal year 22 budget tab on the Finance Executive page of the City Council website. At the completion of each topic, council members will be able to ask questions, and I ask my colleagues to please send me a message if you note that you wish to speak. For council members following along, or for the public that wants to read along, if you go to the budget book, which you can find the entire thing in electronic form on the City Council website, under Finance Executive, under the proposed fiscal year 22 budget tab, the Office of the Inspector General budget is on page 378. The City Auditor's Office is on page 398, and the Atlanta Citizen Review Board is on page 390. Just as far as sort of other run of show, we are going to stick to the start times that I read. So 10 for the Inspector General, 11 for the City Auditor, and 11:30 for the Citizen Review Board. So if anybody finishes a little bit early, the line will just go quiet while we wait for the next start. We figured out that works best in this remote environment for people that might want to tune in at a particular time. So with that, I am excited to welcome our new Inspector General, Shannon, Mannell, with us this morning to ask her to introduce her team and give her presentation. And Madam Inspector General, I do know that you have some changes from what's in the budget book that I've spoken to the administration and finance on that will be handled in an amendment. You can give your presentation for the budget book, but also feel free to discuss what the changes, any additional need that there is, and we will get that handled in an amendment. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce your leadership team and get started.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. Good morning, Chair Ives, Council President Moore, and members of the Finance Executive Committee. My name is Shannon Mannell, and I'm honored to serve as the City of Atlanta's Inspector General. The Office of the Inspector General consists of 3 divisions: the Compliance Division, the Independent Procurement Review Division, or IPRO, and the Ethics Division. Under the city charter, each division has specific funding. In addition, the legislation forming the Office of the Inspector General established that the new Compliance Unit and the Independent Procurement Review Division would be directed by the Inspector General, and that the Ethics Division would be directed by the city's Ethics Officer. So in light of this structure, this morning, I will present the budget details for the Compliance and Independent Procurement Review Division, and then I'll turn it over to the city's Ethics Officer, Jabu Singova, to present the budget details for the Ethics Division. For my portion of the presentation, I'm joined today by the Deputy Inspector General for the Compliance Division, Anthony Bennett, and the Performance Manager for the Independent Procurement Review Division, Michael Jones. If we can advance to slide 2. The Compliance Division of the Office of Inspector General is, of course, new. And while the Independent Procurement Review Division is not new, as it's been functioning for the last few years under the City Auditor's Office, its budget is new in some respects, because only the salary and benefits have been designated for the unit. So there's no budget trend to speak of for either division. For budget purposes, for both divisions, we're essentially starting from scratch. So this morning, I'm going to touch briefly on the functions for each division, but then, of course, we're happy to field any questions you might have at the conclusion of the presentation. The Compliance Division is responsible for investigating fraud, waste, and abuse in city government. In addition to its investigation, the division will provide anti-corruption training to city government entities, departments, offices, boards, etc., with an eye towards highlighting common pitfalls, providing mechanisms to report misconduct, and offering guidance regarding cooperation with an Inspector General investigation. And from its investigations, compliance will work to provide recommendations to address corruption vulnerabilities that we identify in the city's policies, procedures, and practices. The Independent Procurement Review Division is responsible for reviewing the city's largest solicitations, specifically all of those with an aggregate value above $1 million. Through its reviews, the Independent Procurement Review identifies and reports areas of concern before Council considers legislation to approve contracts. Under the fiscal year 21 budget, the Compliance Division had 6 positions, and the Independent Procurement Review Division had 3. And is currently provided for fiscal year 22, 2 additional positions would be added to the compliance, both investigative positions, and 1 additional position, an auditor position, would be added to the Independent Procurement Review team. Can we advance to slide 3? This slide outlines the budget for compliance, including salary, benefit costs, and operating expenses. As the Chair indicated, I know that there are some additional tweaks that are going to take place, potentially additional funding, but also the funding allocation between the general fund, the airport, and water waste. And the allocation there is slated to be 70, 15, 15, respectively. But that split funding had been detailed in the personnel paper that I know has been submitted to the Council. And if you advance to slide 4, this slide outlines the budget for Independent Procurement Review, including its salary, benefit costs, and operating expenses. And likewise, what's not reflected here is the funding allocation. Based on the body of work performed by the Independent Procurement Review team over the last couple of years, the allocation there is going to skew more towards the airport, so that the allocation of 25, 50, 25 between the general fund, the airport, and water waste is applicable. Can we advance to slide 5? This slide depicts the anticipated work for compliance and independent procurement review for the next fiscal year. The left represents compliance, of course. We've been moving very quickly to establish the new division. And that construction, the work of building an entirely new unit from the ground, will continue well into the next fiscal year. The picture on the right shows a report from the Independent Procurement Review team. The team will continue to conduct the thorough reviews that it has been performing under the City Auditor's Office once it, in the beginning of the fiscal year, transitions to the Office of the Inspector General, and will continue to rigorously report the identified areas of concern. Advance to slide 6. As noted, we are working to build the compliance division. This consists of a host of activities, including but certainly not limited to hiring, securing physical space for both compliance and the iPro team, and obtaining investigative resources the unit will need to perform its work. As our newly hired investigators start with the office over the next few weeks, including an investigation manager who started just this morning, we are now very happily at the stage where we can begin to conduct some of our investigation. We'll also begin the critical work of publicizing the office. I'm going to spend a little time talking about that in this slide and later ones, but the emphasis is key. We're a brand new office, and it's vital that city stakeholders, and that goes for employees, contractors, members of the public, know about the function that we perform and that they have an avenue to raise concerns regarding misconduct. For independent procurement review, as I noted, the unit will continue to conduct its timely and thorough reviews of city solicitations. In the next fiscal year, however, with the addition of a new auditor in the team, we'll be able to not only continue to perform the kind of reviews that this council has seen to date, but also expand to perform reviews of solicitations beyond the $1 million threshold. The charter envisions that the unit would perform reviews of solicitations at any dollar value that might pose potential hazards. But to date, given the current staffing and the sheer volume of the mandatory reviews, the unit has not been positioned to perform these discretionary reviews. Please advance to slide 7. Expense-wise, we hope the fiscal year 22 budget will allow for needed operational costs, including supply and fleet costs, and also funding towards the marketing campaign that I described. And if you'll advance to slide 8. This final slide outlines some of the key deliverables to the city that we've been discussing for both compliance and independent procurement review. As the chair noted, there's been conversations about increasing some of the allocation because the fiscal year allocation currently stands, funds have been added to expand compliance and independent procurement review, which is great for the additional positions that it affords. But more is needed to enable the divisions to actually deliver on these key deliverables. Currently, $500,000 were added to the fiscal year 21 budgets for the division. These funds are earmarked to create an operating expense for independent procurement review, to provide applicable and appropriate salary and benefits for existing positions between the divisions, and also to create the 3 positions across the 2 divisions that I identified. But we need an additional roughly $250,000, especially to enable the new compliance division to fulfill its mandate. In the brief time of its existence, the Compliance Division has already fielded multiple complaints with serious allegations that would result in complex investigations. The funds, if allotted, would be used for 2 additional investigator positions to handle just such complaints, including an investigative attorney position, which would provide both investigative and legal support to the office. And equally importantly, the funds would be put towards the marketing campaign that I noted. As I said, increasing public awareness for the Office of the Inspector General is critical to the work of the office, and it also functions to increase public trust in city government. Knowing that there's a dedicated office to address these issues of fraud and corruption, and eventually seeing the fruits of his labor, will go a long way towards restoring the city's trust in its government. And while we will certainly continue to make our own direct outreach efforts, given the stakes for this new office, professional assistance is what's called for. And of course, as you know, as city employees and contractors and the public learn more about the office, the complaint-driven workload of the office is certain to increase. So ultimately, the modest additional request of the $250,000 will help the divisions perform the kind of minimum duties that are outlined in the charter. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions at the conclusion of the ethics portion of the presentation. Ms. Singova?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning. Can you hear me? We can hear you, and I'm just going to take 1 second. If anybody else if everybody will just double check that your phones are on mute if you're not presenting, that would be great because we're picking up a little bit of background noise. But good morning, Ms. Singova, and we're ready for you.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Jabu Singova, and I currently lead the Ethics Division for the Office of Inspector General. And today I have with me Carlos Santiago, Deputy Ethics Officer, and Sherry Dawson, Business Manager. And we'll just capture the ethics discussion of the ethics budget very briefly on the next 4 slides. So if we could advance, please, to slide 9. So this slide shows our current summary of our current operations for the Ethics Division. Essentially, our division is focused on continuous ethics training, public education, and outreach, timely filing of disclosure reports, timely response to ethics advice, and timely and thorough investigation. I'd also want to direct you to the 2 charts that you see, and you will see that the budget trends for ethics are matching the headcount growth for our office. We are currently anticipating a headcount of 10 for FY22. If we could advance to the next slide, please. So now slide 10 really lays out the FY22 proposed budget for ethics. And for the summary of our proposed budget via the major account groups, we're looking at a total of $1.5 million. And I'll speak more about the budget for ethics on the next slide. If we could go to the next slide, please. Slide 10 essentially is capturing a summary of our proposed budget. And that looks at the personnel and operational expenses for FY22. For personnel, the only major change that we're looking at is the creation of a program manager position. Our major contracts and agreements remain the same for our critical ethics programs, such as the employee hotline, our e-learning applications and software, our e-file system for disclosure filings, and our website. Other operational expenses include office supplies, technology equipment, and professional services. Can we go to the next slide, please? So now we turn to slide 12, which looks at our key metrics for FY22. Under training, ethics training, we are developing and plan to launch a 2nd phase of our ethics e-learning course. And we find that is now even more critical now that we've been in this virtual workspace. We're also focused on other unique training opportunities for city officials and public safety of personnel. We continue to engage in other educational initiatives such as our newsletter and messaging through email blasts. Under financial disclosure, we continue development of the ethics e-file system focused on improving our user experience and continue auditing of disclosure statements. For staffing, one of the critical parts for staffing is that we are establishing and filling a program manager position, and we hope to fill the vacant ethics advisor position. In regards to the program manager, we expect that that person will be responsible for organizing and coordinating our critical ethics programs, which include, of course, the mandatory disclosure filings and ethics training. And we believe that will help our processes become more efficient and effective. Can we advance to slide 13, please? So in terms of this final slide, in closing, we just want to reiterate that a strong ethics program only serves to benefit the city and the citizens of Atlanta. Our program was established in 2003, and it just continues to grow. As far as ethics training promotes knowledge of ethics laws, which also helps prevent ethical misconduct. The disclosure process, our established disclosure process, promotes transparency in that the public can review potential business interests, employment, and financial transactions of officials and employees. Ethics advice provides officials, employees, and vendors, more importantly, with clear and consistent guidance to make objective ethical decisions. We appreciate the administration and City Council's budgetary support. And at this time, I would really like to personally thank the ethics staff for their continued support
hard work, dedication, and flexibility over the past year. That ends my presentation for the Ethics Division. And Madam Chair, at this time, we'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. This was a great presentation, and I'm just so personally excited to see the Office of the Inspector General stood up. This was a significant undertaking that Council did in conjunction with the Mayor's office, with Council President Felicia Moore being sort of a brainchild of this, and Council Member Howard Shook and Marcy Overstreet really working with me to flesh it all out, and the legislation getting done in coordination with the Mayor's office and our law department did an exceptional job on this. So it's really exciting to see it all come together, and I think it's just going to be fantastic for our city, and I have complete confidence that we found the right person to be our new Inspector General, and I think Ms. Kangova has always done an exceptional job, and I feel just really great about the whole thing. And as I said at the beginning, I was aware after the budget book was printed, but before the presentation, that there was an additional funding request that I've spoken to the administration and finance about. So there will be budget amendments before we pass the budget on June 7th, and we'll work out the details that we need to for the Office of Inspector General. I believe that Council President Felicia Moore has a question or a comment.
Yes, and I think you said it all, Madam Chair, so I'm not going to repeat all that, so I will double up on her comments. The only thing I would add is for Ms. Ide, the Chair, to really note that you were there from the beginning, from the legislation I authored, and you pushed it forward, and you worked definitely in the final iterations of it, and I know it was a difficult process, but I just want to make sure you get your kudos for help ushering it through on the legislative side, along with all the other members that you mentioned, Mr. Shook, Ms. Overstreet, and I'm sure others. So I just want to say thank you. I'm glad to hear that we're making sure they're sufficiently funded, and look forward to the Inspector General in particular, because Ms. Kangova and the Ethics Office has continued their work, and they do a great job getting that up and running, and whatever investigations. And so that's one of my questions. Are there pending things that need to be investigated that are waiting until you got going, or have you already started? Or are there none? I'll leave that. And that's my comment and my question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
So it's the first. We have already received complaints, some that were in real time, some that have been historical. I don't think that's kind of overstatement, but I think that there are a number of issues that people have identified over time, and I think it underscores the need for the office that you all had identified and worked so hard to then create this office, that there have been issues that have been kind of awaiting the formation of the office so that we can get going. So it is, I know I speak for Deputy Inspector General Anthony Bennett. We are very excited to get going. And for the while where it was just me, what I've said to some of the various members of City Council and other stakeholders in meetings, that, among competing priorities, hiring has to be number one, because as long as it was just me, we weren't getting to the heart of any investigations. And so it is with quite a great deal of excitement that we are now at the point where we can get things going.
Thank you.
Just as far as that line of getting going, where are you in sort of the logistics of that? And if I believe you all are not going to be at 55 Trinity. I believe you're going to be, once you do go back in person, you're going to be at a different city property. But where are you as far as getting an office set up, moving in, getting the hotline, if there are any changes to that, getting, website, whatever you need to do to really sort of get your initial presence up and running?
The short answer to each of those is well underway. With respect to the physical location, ultimately we are going to be in the new office space that is being built out, with a special thanks for the legislation yesterday that allowed for a significant expenditure for furniture for the new place. But temporarily we will be in space near City Hall. And that, I think, even while the hearing was happening, I received an email just looking for purchase orders so that we can have the final work done on that space. Same thing in terms of the progress on a website. We've been working kind of independently on our content and then also with AIM to have a kind of presence there. There, I think, is always a struggle because we did want to get ahead of ourselves with some of the publicizing before we were in a position to then take action on potential investigations and complaints that came in. But now I think we're kind of well positioned to do that. So we're in the kind of final stages for the website. And then there was another component that you described. This would be off.
I guess the website is part of it, but I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, you said the complaint line.
The hotline or the, right,
yeah.
Right.
So that is something that, I think we're in a fairly fortunate position right now to be able to use the current integrity hotline that has been used principally and managed entirely by the ethics office, but that I know has been the source for investigations that have been fielded out to the auditor's office when there was an investigative component there, and also to the City Department of Human Resources and the Law Department when those entities performed investigative functions. So it's good because we won't have to reinvent the wheel in terms of being able to use the integrity hotline, but we're also discussing kind of amongst ourselves ways that we would like to at least supplement the process for intake, including with some phone lines that would come kind of directly to our office, just because there are particular questions that there's kind of no replacing the kind of investigator level being able to kind of field things directly. But we're in a very fortunate position right now because we're going to be able to use both.
Great. So it sounds like you were
really very, very close to sort of opening to the public, opening to the city and opening to the public, and really being able to let people know you're here and you're ready. You're available to hear complaints and get going. Do you know off the top of your head, and I can ask
our auditor if you don't know, I believe you all are moving to.
I believe you're moving. Is 185 Ted Turner Drive your permanent place, or that's your temporary office?
And my question was going to be,
is the auditor moving with you also? And I can ask her if you don't know what her plans are.
Right. That will be our permanent space.
Okay.
And I don't know the answer to the second question. I didn't believe so, but perhaps she has other intentions.
Okay. But your entire operations, including ethics, are going to move over to the new office space?
Only the complaint division and independent procurement. Ms. Gova can speak to it as well, but that office, of course, has been in existence for some time, has kind of solid roots in City Hall, and I think there was a desire to maintain those. But like I said, Ms. Gova can speak more to that.
Sure. I think everybody knows where they are in City Hall, so that makes sense to me. It looks like
Mr. Shook has his hand up.
I need to throw my bouquet here as well. Inside said most of what needed to be said. It was a privilege for me to hold her coat while she led this discussion. I've already told you, but I'll repeat it. Inventing a brand new function and figuring out how it needs to interact with multiple existing, independent, and proud functions, and to do so in a way that was in sync with the administration's preferred outcome was remarkably difficult. I'm thrilled that the administration has worked with you as it has to produce this budget. This is I might have this page of the budget laminated. It's probably my favorite. And I thank Masai for giving a shout out to the law department, without whose help down the home stretch, for sure this would have foundered. So having met you and chatted with you, I'm excited about the future, and we have high expectations. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting them.
All right, colleagues, does anybody else have a question or comment? I don't see any. So I will just connect with you offline on the details of the budget amendment, and we'll get that in the packet for the June 7th meeting and make sure that you have everything you need to really launch July 1. All right. Well, thank you to everybody. I think you hear the enthusiasm from council. And this is just great. I mean, this was really a very fast turnaround from the beginning of this discussion and getting the board reconstituted and fully on board with becoming, going from people who signed up to be on an ethics board to people to really making a board of the Inspector General and compliance and ethics. And then they did an exceptional job, particularly during the pandemic, of coming up with a job description, doing a nationwide search, finding you, hiring you, and getting to the place that we're about to, fully fund the budget and have you operational. So we're just, incredibly excited that we were able to get all this done again in a fairly short timetable. So I'm going to give everybody
for all of your support. I truly, we can't do anything without all of the support, and so I'm thankful to you and Councilmember Shook and Councilmember Overstreet and Council President Moore for all of the support that you've already thrown the office, and I look forward to continuing to partner with each of you.
Great. All right. Well, I'm going to give everybody 25 minutes of your time back, and we will be back online at 11 a.m. for the presentation by the City Auditor. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Stay at Home Connect. I'm Phyllis Jackson.
Governor Brian Kemp signs an executive order banning vaccine passports in the state of Georgia. The governor's Twitter page says vaccination is a personal decision between each citizen and a medical professional, not state government. Moderna seeks to adjust its FDA's emergency use authorization to include children as young as 12. The company says a clinical trial of its COVID-19 vaccine is shown to be 93% effective in children from 12 to 17, 2 weeks after the first shot, and 100% effective 2 weeks after the second vaccination. Nearly 4,000 kids took part in the trial. Officials say the most common side effect included pain at the injection site, and the most common side effects after the second shot included muscle pain, chills, fatigue, and headaches. Moderna's CEO says the company plans to submit its findings to the FDA early next month. Moderna is also currently conducting clinical trials involving kids from 6 months of age to 11. We caught up with Dr. Andy Shane, Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at Emory School of Medicine, to learn what the FDA authorization could mean for kids in this age group.
We are celebrating those efficacy numbers because that really does help to reinforce the value of the vaccine. And I think this is really an important adjunct to what is available. Strongly encourage families to become immunized, the adults in the families, children in the families. This is really important for trying to make sure that we have a summer, that we're able to get children back to school. The more children who we can get immunized, the better we will be. And these vaccines really have had notable efficacy with very minimal side effects. And we just really are only beginning to learn about the long-term manifestations of COVID-19. So anything that we can do to prevent infection, to both protect ourselves and also those in the community who cannot always be protected is very, very important.
If you are a Georgia resident who is sick, shut in, or homebound because of a physical or mental disability and cannot travel to a COVID-19 site, you can request a vaccination at home. Just send an email to hvs@dph.ga.gov. That's hvs@dph.ga.gov. Or you can call the Department of Public Health at 888-572-0112. Atlanta City Council members Jennifer Ide and Michael Bond present a proclamation to restaurateur Tom Murphy of Murphy's, which celebrates 40 years of service to Atlanta.
I'm just so excited that Murphy's, Tom says that they're back to their pre-COVID business. People are out and about. He's making it a safe place to eat. I've been back here, and it's one of my favorite places, and I hope people will get out as they feel comfortable and back into their local restaurants.
My friends, we have gathered here to praise God and to witness to our faith as we celebrate the life, the love, and the legacy of C.T. Martin.
The Bible tells us that for everything there is a season, a time to live and a time to die.
What I love most about serving with CT is that you always knew exactly where you stood.
C.T. Martin was one of the few genuinely humble politicians that I know.
He loved the city of Atlanta with all of his heart, but he loved Southwest Atlanta the most.
He didn't do a whole lot of talking. He did his thing through action.
We must work the works of the one who sent us while it is day. Because night is coming when no one can work. C.T. Martin worked during the day. He fed the hungry, housed the homeless, encouraged the poor, restored the shattered. He taught the children, strengthened the families, supported the schools, directed the policy. C.T. Martin worked while it was day.
see those young people over there? That's C.T. Martin. You see the middle-aged people in the back over there standing up? That's C.T. Martin. You see the culinary arts people back there? That's C.T. Martin. You see the homeless people on the street? That's C.T. Martin. There was never anybody too high or too low for C.T. Martin.
C.T. is someone you could always count on, C.T. And that's not true of everybody.
We are the youngest of the Martin children, and we just wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for everybody being here, for celebrating our father. He loved Atlanta.
After you delivered an auditorium, the streetscapes, the urban villages, the doctor parks, after you run the dollar stores out of town, the dope pushers from the corners, the Dowling Toms and Tomasinos from City Hall, after you sacrificed it all, who will carry the torch of Clarence Terrell Martin? Do not weep for C.T. Martin today, but celebrate with him, for his life was lived with courage, with conviction, with urgency. He worked while it was day.
Say his name, C.T. C.T., we love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Godspeed, C.T. Martin. God bless you, and God bless the Martin family. Thank you very much.
One, two, three, cut.
Hooray!
Yeah. This is called Centennial Yards, formerly the Gulch, and of course this whole development was passed in 2018 by the Atlanta City Council. So this is one of the first pieces of development. There's about 15 different parcels that will eventually be developed over the next 10 to 15 years. So the first portion here is at Ted Turner Drive and Peter Street, which is in the Castleberry Hill neighborhood. And there's 162 apartments that have been rehabilitated to its natural historic beauty. So this is an old building that was probably built somewhere around 1910. There are studios and 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So this development is actually the gateway to further development in Southwest Atlanta. Castleberry Hill has really been flourishing along with other areas in Southwest Atlanta. We're just very excited about the development that's happening in this area. It's going to anchor this end of the lower end of downtown Atlanta from Marietta Street, coming back to Castleberry Hill and going further southwest. So this is something that's very exciting, and we're looking forward to more development that will take place.
We're here today at the Maggie Russell Tower to help to provide, along with our partners GenCare and their Executive Director, Councilwoman Carmelita Gum from South Fulton, 80 COVID-19 vaccines for seniors who are here in the building. There are over 400 residences in the Maggie Russell high-rise, but there are about 80 folks who had not received their COVID-19 vaccines. So a lot of the seniors, aren't mobile, meaning they may not have a car or access to transportation, to help them to get vaccinated, to protect them and others who already have been vaccinated in the building from the scourge of COVID-19. It's still important to adhere to the CDC guidelines so that we can beat this pandemic. We are so close to the end of it. Millions of Americans adult Americans have been vaccinated, but we need every American to step up, get a shot in the arm because it protects yourself, it protects others, it protects our community. The city of Atlanta is still in phase 2. We would like to open up. We can't do so until we have the results in the broader community that our infection rate is beneath 5%, that people are still wearing masks and socially distancing, that everybody is getting vaccinated. The more we do that, the quicker we can go back to normal.
We're out here downtown today celebrating the completion of 4 projects that were voted on during our Downtown Decides participatory budgeting process. And we're riding a bike from one location to the other to do a ribbon cutting at each of the 4 transportation projects. Some of the projects we're celebrating today are new bike lanes in the Central Business District, the painting of an island in the middle of the road yellow so people can see it, and some new trash cans in the Sweet Auburn corridor. This is the direct result of citizens participating in this program. This is the first time we've done participatory budgeting in Atlanta, and it puts the power directly in people's hands on how tax dollars are spent, and we're just thrilled with the response and the success of the program so far.
Chastain Park is the largest park in the city of Atlanta. This is the last piece of the Chastain Park path, and it's taken over 25 years since it began, and we are here at a groundbreaking to celebrate this last piece getting ready to start. You know, the phrase, it takes a village. Well, it certainly takes a village here. There have been lots and lots of organizations who have helped make this happen. I think there are over 500,000 people and probably about 250,000 dogs that use the path each year. It's an asset that is used by many, many people, from young people walking along to people on bikes to people running and exercising and folks coming after work to enjoy a stroll in the park. And the path has really been a catalyst for revitalizing the park, and so lots of park partners here today with NYO and the horse park and the pool, and it's a wonderful time to celebrate together.
Today we're here for an unveiling. We're unveiling an urban farm, one of the biggest urban farms that will be based here in District 3. And we're here to address the food insecurities that this district has faced for decades. And I think what's so innovative about this idea is that we've partnered with Washington High School, with Greenleaf Farms. We're going to be partnering with the American Heart Association to bring together an ag STEM program that's going to cultivate new, young, fresh blood in urban farming. That's going to really be focused on how we can move together as a community in addressing food insecurities within Atlanta. It is time that we take action in our own hands and we start cultivating innovative opportunities like an urban farm, like a grocery retail model where we can pipeline produce into the communities and really help lift up and support our residents.
This is our annual Eco Depot. We do this once a year out here at Charm. We used to do it at Turner Field, and we did it one year, the very first year we did it at the Civic Center. But this is an annual day where you can get rid of those unwanted
but the things that you know your gut says, don't throw this away, but I can't put it in the garbage and I can't put it in the city's recycling blue bin. So this is the Center for Hard to Recycle Materials. So people are out here today, they're bringing their styrofoam, they're bringing their tires. We've got neighborhood tires that are coming, you know, where someone dumped them. We've got tires that are coming. All of your old electronics, just like when you have that old electric toothbrush that died, your old cell phone that died, you know better than to put it in the trash or the recycling. So you bring it out here to Charm. It's in the springtime, which is so proper for spring cleaning, because then you don't throw out that old paint can that's got paint in it. You don't throw out whatever the Raid bottle that you lost the lid to. You can bring them here and we will properly dispose of them. And everybody is showing up. We've got, the outpouring of people coming out to recycle their items properly is just amazing. Look at all these people. I'm so happy.
joined this morning by Vice Chair Howard Schiff of the Finance Executive Committee. I know I had Council President Felicia Moore with us this morning, and if there are other members who have joined us, I will acknowledge you at the end of my announcements. Members do cycle in and out as your schedules permit. For today's schedules, we have 3 presentations. We just completed the Office of the Inspector General. We're going to hear in a minute from the City Auditor's Office from 11 to 11:30. Final presentation will be from the Atlanta Citizens Review Board starting at 11:30. The electronic copy of the budget book and all of our presentations can be found on the City Council website under the Finance Executive page and the proposed FY22 budget tab. So if there was a presentation that you missed over the last 2 to 3 weeks, you should be able to find the materials there, as well as a copy of the full budget book that reviews our revenues, as well as things outside the general fund of the entire rest of the budget, aviation, watershed, and the other external funds. At the completion of each topic, council members will be able to ask questions, so please do send me a message, colleagues, if you wish to speak. And with that, I'm going to introduce our City Auditor, Amanda Noble. I believe she has Deputy City Auditor Stephanie Jackson with her. Ms. Noble, if you have anyone else from your team, feel free to introduce them, and otherwise you can get started on your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Amanda Noble, City Auditor. As Chair I said, I'm here with Stephanie Jackson, Deputy City Auditor, to present our proposed FY22 budget, which starts on page 398 of the budget book. Please move to slide 2. So our proposed budget is $4,044,375, a 2% increase over last year. The proposal is about $330,000 higher than what we submitted, which is the difference shown on the budget trend graph. And that difference is about $189,000 in the general fund and $70,000 each in the water and airport funds. I think the difference reflects a miscommunication. While the IPRO positions, as you know, were removed from our budget, the funding was not. We had requested to retain some of the funding to fill a previously unfunded vacancy and to create a new permanent part-time position. The budget trend shows that without the difference, we are proposing to spend about 19% less than our fiscal year 19 actual of $4.6 million. The reduction is both headcount and contractual services. In FY19, we had additional costs for the external audit, and we did the actuarial audit. While we've reduced our overall budget, the proportion that is general fund has increased. We match audit effort to the funding source. In fiscal years 2019 and 2020, we were still auditing Renew Atlanta pursuant to Resolution 15R 3343. Also, the majority of IPRO reports, as you heard, are for enterprise funds. So with IPRO transferring to the Office of Inspector General, relatively more of our audit effort is in the general fund. So our overall proposal is 52% general fund and 24% water and wastewater fund and 24% airport fund. The headcount trend shows that we've moved from 19 funded positions in fiscal year 19 to 16 and a half in the proposed budget, again due to transferring 3 IPRO positions and adding a permanent part-time position. The numbers in this graph are a little different than what shows in the budget book because the budgeted numbers do not reflect Renew funds, and I think we've had some cleanup in HR data. For operational areas, our core functions are conducting performance audits to support legislative oversight and public accountability, making recommendations to management that will foster improvements in effectiveness of results, efficiency of operations, risk management, compliance, and controls, and assisting the audit committee in its oversight of the city's annual financial audit. We're on track this year to meet our goal of releasing 10 audit reports. We've released 8 reports to date, and the audit committee is reviewing the final 2 reports and is scheduled to consider their release at their regularly scheduled meeting next week. Throughout fiscal year 2021, all City Auditor's Office staff worked remotely due to the city's deployment of mandatory telework for non-essential employees during the COVID-19 emergency. While we were largely able to conduct our work and replicate existing procedures in the remote environment, we did modify some audit scopes or planned tests in some cases. I received feedback from this body on the importance of following up on the status of audit recommendations. We worked with the Mayor's Office of Innovation and Performance to follow up on the status of 46 of 125 audit recommendations open at the beginning of the year. Our follow-up efforts were reduced this year due to COVID. We hope to get back on track soon. We are implementing an electronic work paper system that will facilitate closer to real-time tracking and reporting on the status of audit recommendations. And we're working with the Mayor's Office of Innovation and Performance on rolling out the new process to department managers. We've worked with the Audit Committee to implement public virtual meetings this year. The committee is fully staffed for the first time in a long time. So thank you to the Finance Executive Committee, the Council President, and the Mayor's Office for making that happen. As you heard already, we continue to manage the independent procurement review function over the past year while awaiting its transition to the Office of Inspector General. And to date, we've released 30 IPRO reports on solicitations valued at approximately $500 million, reporting 63 findings. The teams continue to work with the Department of Procurement to improve the process and reduce repeat findings. And the newly hired Inspector General has been attending our weekly status meetings to become familiar with the process and ease the transition. Our performance metrics are listed on page 400 of the budget book. Along with the number of audit reports released, we track average staff hours per audit, the percent of recommendations that management agrees with, the number of recommendations closed, and the percent of closed recommendations that were fully implemented. We also track the percent of professional staff with advanced degrees or certifications. Our FY20 actual metrics are listed. We were above our target on average hours per report, basically reflecting staff turnover, which was almost 40% that year. Turnover was much lower this year. Our average hours per audit, once we've completed the year and can calculate, will be lower, but probably still above our target. Recommendation agreement was also below our target, mostly due to one audit, and about 80% of the staff has an advanced degree, professional certification, or both. Please move to slide 3. This slide notes highlights for the upcoming fiscal year. Again, our goal is to release 10 audit reports. Some of the audits already in progress that will be released in fiscal year 22 are a review of cybersecurity, enforcement of building and zoning codes, parks and recreation fees, aviation maintenance, and street lighting. We're also planning to start an audit of business licensing soon, and we'll be working with the Audit Committee to finalize our FY22 audit plan to start additional projects. I have mentioned our plans to implement an electronic audit work paper system. We've worked with AIM and Department of Procurement throughout the year, and implementation is finally here. Configuration is scheduled for next week and initial training the following week. The software will help us streamline processes and hopefully help us to be more efficient. It improves work paper storage, retrieval, security, and version control. And importantly, it will provide us a platform for timely follow-up of open audit recommendations. It will also allow us to develop a public-facing dashboard that will show the status of recommendation implementation, providing greater transparency and accountability to stakeholders. On contractual services, the Audit Committee is responsible for contracting for the city's required external financial audit. We're currently working with Procurement on behalf of the Audit Committee to rebid the current contract, which ends August 2022. Please move to slide 4. And this slide shows our proposed budget by major account group, with most of our budget going for personnel and the external financial audit. Please move to slide 5. These are our key metrics and deliverables for FY22. As I said, we're on track to meet our goal of releasing 10 audit reports and plan to release 10 reports next year as well. We currently have 224 open audit recommendations. Our goal is to close at least 75. Hopefully we'll be able to do more with the new system. We are finalizing a pilot project on continuous audit to test controls and identify high-risk transactions as or soon after they occur. We worked with finance, procurement, and AIM and other stakeholders to assess risk and feasibility of various tests. We're starting with a set of 3 controls identified as high risk and 4 controls identified as low effort. Our next step is to develop protocols for dealing with the transactions that we flag as potential problems. We plan to continue to refine and expand the program during the coming fiscal year. Please move to slide 6. This slide shows our basic operational plan. I think I've already touched on these points. We're adding a permanent part-time position to manage the continuous audit program. The proposed budget reflects the transfer of the IPRO function to the Office of Inspector General, along with our contracts for external financial audit and electronic audit work paper system. We're planning to work with the Department of Procurement to issue an RFQ to qualify firms to speed procurement when audits require specialized skills or expertise. We'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mabel. So I want to make sure I understand what you were saying at the beginning. You think that the headcount was transferred, but the funding wasn't for the IPRO positions?
Yes, we submitted a budget lower than what was in the budget book. And the difference is basically the IPRO position. So I think the IPRO positions were funded both in our budget and the IG's office. And, you know, I listened to IG's presentation. I know you're seeking additional funding there. So we have
so maybe we can sort that all out, that we've double counted somewhere. So I will connect with finance and innovation and you all on that, because the IG does need, they ended up a little bit short, and if there's capacity to move some over, that's going to help us. We're going to figure it out one way or the other, but that will help us resolve that. But otherwise, and you're totally comfortable with your budget with that IPRO allocated expense being removed, you have what you need?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's lean, and we worked hard to come up with a budget that was within the mayor's target, but I think we can work with that this year, for the coming year.
And are you all staying in your current offices, or are you going to move to new office space like the IG's office is?
No one has talked to us about moving, so as far as I know, we're staying.
Okay. I just wasn't sure who all was moving over to the Ted Turner property. Colleagues, does anybody have questions for the auditor? While we are waiting to see if anybody has questions, just, you know, for the public listening in, I think people have probably figured this out, that you know, we've had an auditor for a long time, and then we added a new function underneath the auditor for the independent procurement review that does a deeper dive into contracts to make sure that there aren't any issues with procurement, but it's over $1 million, and I think there might have been some other flags on that, and that's moving over to the Inspector General's office. And I am assuming that you're talking to the Inspector General and sort of figuring out how you all will coordinate on other issues, that if you all do an audit, that you uncover something that falls within the jurisdiction of the Inspector General, of whether you think there's a fraud uncovered in an audit, that you all will work on that as referrals to whether the Inspector General is the appropriate person or law enforcement is. So I think that we really have got a good system here of how all of these pieces fit together.
Yes, we've talked about some issues that may have come up in audit that could be investigated, and I'm sure we'll talk about issues that come up in investigation that could benefit from an audit to look at overall system of internal control. We we did update our own policies and procedures for our office to ensure that we describe how to make referrals to the IG's office.
That's great, because that had been one concern when we were standing up the IG's office, is that we weren't going to, completely duplicate functions and expenses. And that's exactly what I think the hope was of council and the administration, was that between audit and ethics and the compliance division of the Inspector General, that you all figure out amongst yourselves, when you spot an issue that you could refer over, and have another group examine and use their resources on. We didn't need everybody to have investigators and everybody to have auditors, that you all would figure out how to make that infrastructure all work together. Well, you all have been busy. I'm sure you're going to have another busy year. I don't see any other questions from City Council, so I will just connect with you in the next couple days to figure out what the right transfer is, to leave you with what you need and hopefully help get the Inspector General to the budget amount that they need. So thank you for everything that you do, and we're going to take a short break. By my watch, it's 11:17, and we're going to be back for our final presentation at 11:30 from the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. We do not have full council next week, and so the date that we're going to be passing the budget is June 7th, so we do have a full week to work through these issues. So if there's anything else that you see, any other questions, issues you have with your budget, reach out to me later today or next week, or tomorrow, and we will get it all worked out. So thank you, and we will be back at 11:30 for our final presentation.
A native son of Atlanta, C.T. Martin was educated in Atlanta public schools, graduating from Booker T. Washington High School. Martin would attend Shaw University in North Carolina before returning home to earn a master's degree from Atlanta University. Martin was quick to answer the call to community service. The years 1979 through 1981 were dark and troubling times in the city, and a young C.T. Martin stepped forward to serve on the Missing and Murdered Children's Task Force. In 1990, Martin's activism led him to City Hall, as he was elected to Atlanta City Council, representing the city's 10th district for the first time. It was the beginning of one of the longest tenures on record for a council representative. Martin served on the City Budget Commission and chaired committees for human resources, public safety, and transportation. His passion for economic development in his district led to the formation of the Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Merchants Association. The ongoing reimagining of the MLK corridor is part of Martin's legacy. C.T. Martin left City Council in 2017, the same year that the $27 million Natatorium and Recreation Center in the Adamsville community was renamed in his honor. It is an enduring symbol of C.T. Martin's commitment to the youth as well as the seniors of the 10th District. C.T. Martin passed away May 8th at the age of 84. He will be remembered as an activist, visionary, and mentor, but most of all, C.T. Martin will be remembered as the Dean of Atlanta City Council.
last day of City Council review of the Mayor's proposed fiscal year 22 municipal budget. I've been joined this morning by my Vice Chair, Howard Shook of the Finance Executive Committee, Council President Felicia Moore, and Councilmember Joyce Shepard. There may be other council members cycling in and out, and I know that some are watching the live stream this morning too. This morning we heard from the Office of the Inspector General and the City Auditor's Office. Our last presentation is the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. Electronic copy of the budget book and all presentations can be found under the proposed fiscal year 22 budget tab on the Finance Executive page of the City Council website. And if you are looking at the electronic copy of the budget book, which council members have, but the public can look at online, this presentation will begin on page 390. Well, that's where they are in the budget book. The presentations will be posted online. At the completion of the presentation, council members will be able to ask questions, so please send me a text message or a team message if you would like to speak. And with that, I am going to say good morning and welcome the Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizen Review Board, Samuel Reed II, and ask you to introduce any other members of your team that you have with you, and then you may start your presentation.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Good morning, community members and residents of Atlanta. My name is Lee Reed, Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizen Review Board, ACRB. On the call with me today are Sheena Robertson, ACRB Investigations Manager, and Marla Smith, ACRB Project Manager. First, I want to say thank you to the citizens, Atlanta City Council, and Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and her administration for supporting the agency during FY21. If we can go to slide 2, the charts at the top of this slide show our FY22 proposed budget and head count. The agency's operations are conducted by a 15-member governing citizen board, and day-to-day operations are currently handled by 9 staff members. The ACRB has 3 broad operational areas: investigations, mediations, board operations, and community engagement. On the left side of the slide, our key performance metrics reflect the work of the 3 operational areas. As we go to slide 3, FY21 was a busy year for the agency. Despite the COVID shutdown, the agency increased awareness through several initiatives: media interviews, panel discussions, social media, mass media, and presentations. The Atlanta City Council made significant changes to the ACRB ordinance, and Mayor Bottoms increased the agency's funding to address the agency's challenges to improve the public's awareness of the agency. The most significant highlight of FY21 was the APD's rate of agreement on ACRB sustained allegations at 71%. On slide 4, in FY22, the agency will continue to build on the initiatives that started in FY21. With the assistance of the 3 FTEs, the agency will be able to align more efficiently to allow for greater strategic planning and efficient implementation of initiatives. Several internal policies that have been developed will be implemented: 90-day investigative timeline on excessive force complaints, review panels, resolution review process, community education, and service programs. Turn to slide 5. As we look at the key metrics comparisons of actuals versus target, it's clear that the COVID pandemic had a significant impact on the agency's work. Decreases were realized in the number of complaints received, investigated, and closed. However, as I mentioned earlier, the 71% APD rate of agreement on sustained allegations and a reduction in the number of investigated days are data points that we will continue to build on. We anticipate that as normal operations resume, the data points that were affected by COVID shutdown will rise. As we turn to slide 6, this slide shows that in FY22, the agency is proposed to received $1,422,060. This reflects a variance of $54,120 from the FY21 budget. The agency's largest expenditures, other than personnel, are purchase contract services of $358,392, which includes training and community engagement and professional services. And then we have supplies of $52,502 for planning, merchandising, and board expenses of $24,982 for reimbursements and stipends. Slide 7 provides that our basic plan operations will continue to center on providing the best civilian oversight in the nation, building on our efforts to increase officer accountability, build community awareness of the agency, reduce and investigate timelines, and bring innovative programs for the citizens of Atlanta. We'll also be increasing our training opportunities for board and staff, and as the city opens back up, we will increase direct community engagement activities. Proactive work involving trends analysis and reporting, and policy and training recommendations will also increase. We plan to continue to collaborate with the APD, academia, the legal community, and community groups and individuals to ensure that the needs of the community are being addressed in an efficient and effective manner. Return to slide 8. You will notice on our key deliverables, responsiveness runs throughout the operational areas. In the key program 1, the agency will continue to provide thorough and timely investigations and public reporting. Under our second key program, the agency will continue to work to make the board operate more efficiently and increase training opportunities for board members. Lastly, under the third key program, the agency will continue to build awareness of the agency and increase citizens' accessibility to the agency's services. That was to conclude the ACRB's FY22 budget presentation. Again, I want to thank the citizens of Atlanta, the Atlanta City Council, and Mayor Bottoms and her administration for your continued support of the agency's work. And I also like to thank the ACRB staff for its remarkable work throughout the year in these very different circumstances. At this time, I will take questions, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reed. And I do think this is a challenging year for everybody, but I think you all really rose to the occasion of being asked to, not only keep on going, but do more in a difficult year. And I think you all, your report reflects that of what you were able to do. I just want to, I'm going to turn it over to Councilor Shepherd, because this is really her area of expertise. And if I have a question after she makes her comments and questions, then I will come back. So I just want to make sure that the additional funding that you were given covers everything. But let me turn it over to Councilor Joyce Shepherd.
Thank you.
So, Commissioner, you were going where I was going. Number one is in terms of additional funding. I know last year, in terms of we gave you funding last year for the first time, and then COVID-19 it made it a little interesting in terms of how you use your funding. But as we go forward, and it appears as if hopefully we'll be coming back in terms internally to our physical location somewhere in July, hopefully. But the question is, in terms of your funding, and let me just say, I want to say thank you also, because I have seen you all do a lot of work in the community. I've seen your marketing out there. I've seen your engagement. I've watched your reports that you come to us on a quarterly basis and give us a report. But I also just want to make sure that where we are now is coming for you. And the other question I have to ask is your physical location. You're still at City Hall, is that correct? Basically, I know you're not there physically right now, but your office is still at City Hall. Is that correct?
Yes. We're still located on the 9th floor, which is a challenging space for us, considering that we have 9 individuals in that space, plus the 3 that will be joining us when we go back. As it relates to that, though, we have been speaking with Dean to secure the first floor, space on the first floor where Dean office is currently located when they move to their new space, and anticipate that that will occur towards the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And that space appears from our review to meet our needs as far as spacing goes, and the activities that we would need that space for.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you will still remain at City Hall, because I know when we talked previously last year that you all were cramped up in the old towers in collaboration with the finance department. And I know you've been working with Dean to find a new location. So you're saying this new location would be actually still in City Hall, but on the new City Hall on the bottom floor? Is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am. We will be in City Hall, in the City Hall tower on the first floor, where the Dean office is currently located.
Oh, okay. Still in the tower, but on the first floor. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And that space will.
Go ahead.
Oh, and that space actually is a good location for us because it would provide immediate visibility to the citizens when they enter City Hall, especially going through the tower. So we think that space is going to be a good fit for us.
Okay, good. That was one of my main questions in terms of making sure that you had ample space, because I know you're adding more staff that you'd already said you were cramped, and I just wanted to make sure that we would work through that. So I'm glad to know that, because I was going to look at that as a budget item had we not done that. So go back to the original question I asked in terms of your budget going forward for the next fiscal year. Do you see this as something that's appropriate?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, this will allow us to continue to build on the work that we're looking at. In the future, though, however, we will need to be looking at increasing our investigative staff and doing some work with the equity and pay parity amongst our staff, and how we line up with other civilian oversight agencies and other leadership in the city.
Okay, so then probably what you're looking at, of course, because we're having to get back to a different normal and a new normal as to go back into our physical location. Sounds like you may be all right for this year, but we will have to come back maybe and address that within our next year budget to see how you're doing. But as Ms. Ivy said, you've done a good job in terms of what you've done thus far from what I've seen, and you all are aggressively moving toward making our systems moving forward something that people actually categorically know that they can come to you all. It depends. We have that legislation that supports you all and supports your initiatives, collaborations with the police department, and also reaching out to the citizens. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Ms. Odd.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Shepherd. And I just want to make sure I understand this. After your fiscal year 21 budget was approved, did we direct more money? Did we add more money to your budget during the course of the last year?
Yes, after the original budget, when the budget adjustments occurred, more money was added. That was the $427,000 that was added.
Okay, and is that included in the $1,367,940, or was that on top of that number?
No, that was included in the $1,360,000.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that what you're getting in the 1.4 is a little bit on top of even the extra 400. So I got you. I think that's right. But let's see how this year goes, and we're always here if there's a need as you all get back in the office and back fully operational. You know where to find us.
Any other questions from colleagues? All right, I don't see anybody else with their hand up, so thank you for everything that you do. I know that you, stay in touch with Councilmember Shepherd and her Public Safety Committee on a regular basis, so do let us know how things go once you are back in the office, and we appreciate everything that you do. This is the close. This is the last of our departmental budget briefing. So I want to thank everybody on the who has made this happen behind the scenes. Santana, Damon, LaToya, Zena, Talia, Theo, everybody on the city council side. I'm sure that really everybody in the communications and in our research and policy group. I want to thank the Mayor's Office of Innovation and our COO and our finance team and all of the departments that came and gave very thorough, well-organized, informative presentations. This has been, I think, a really smooth budget process. As far as what comes next, next week, next Monday is Memorial Day, and because there are 5 Mondays in May, we do not have a full council week next week, and so our next full council meeting is June 7th. Yesterday at FEC, we did move forward the 3 papers that have to do with the budget, which is the millage rate, the personnel paper that describes where all the head count is, and then the budget paper. I stated at FEC yesterday, I'm going to say it again today. We moved those forward knowing that we had the 3 presentations today, and I knew personally that there were some adjustments that we were going to have to make. So there will be some amendments done on June 7th to address the Inspector General piece of it that we knew we were going to need to do, and there may be other budget amendments made as well. But that's my anticipation, is that we have next week, when we don't have any city council meetings, any committee meetings, full council meeting, or budget briefings, but we do have the whole week for council to really think through and digest, ask any questions of finance, and be prepared on June 7th to hopefully vote on the budget well before our June 30th deadline. If the public who's listening has any further follow-up questions, concerns about the budget, you are welcome to send an email my way. My email is jnide@atlantagA.gov, and I will try to get those answered for you. So with that, I'm going to just say thank you to everybody who made this possible. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I text you. Anyway, I just wanted to say that now the hard work begins, or the work begins in the amendments, and just wanted to thank you as chair for the job you've done to get us to this point and through these budget hearings under a new virtual environment. So kudos to you and your thanks.
I appreciate that, President Moore. And so I really do hope. Yes, I want to say the same thing. I think you did a great job, and our staff, in light of the challenges we've had with virtual and where we are. But we've done a good job, and so has the staff. So I just want to say thank you also. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Ditto. The chair's leadership here has been peerless in a difficult environment. I do have a process question. Is there any chance that this year we're going to get the answers to council members' questions before the budget meeting commences?
We have been, they have been sent back out to the administration each week. I will go over that with our deputy staff director this afternoon, and then I have a standing call with the COO tomorrow, and we'll go through the list to see what's out there. But I will see if we can get those answers to people so that they, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Tuesday, so that they have them well before we have to vote. As we've gotten some, we have gotten emails. The request, for example, of what city properties in each district, I saw an email yesterday that responded to that. So some of them have been coming out, but we'll go knock through the list with the COO and Office of Innovation tomorrow and see where we are on finalizing the responses. Thank you. Let me just see. Yeah, the responses to the week 1 questions was sent out in an email from Ms. Kempson, right? I can't see I'm trying to look and see what the date of it is, but I'll get her to flag that for you. So week 1, we've gotten the responses out, and I'll follow up on the questions from last week and from today. Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a safe Memorial Day weekend, and we will be back with you on Monday, June 7th, and hopefully we will have a smooth process in passing our fiscal year 22 budget. I will also say for council members and for the public who did not listen in the Finance Executive Committee yesterday, we did have a presentation on the proposed use of the ARP funds, and so I will make sure that presentation gets sent to full council and that it gets put on the FEC web site page. We won't be passing that on June 7th. We will be passing that, I don't believe that it's finalized. I will double check on that. I believe that that's going to be finalized later, but it's good to look at that and understand how the new federal funds interplay with the current fiscal year budget and the proposed fiscal year budget. So I'll make sure that got sent to all council members and that gets up on the FEC page. All right, with that, I'm going to everybody thank you for the final time and have a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And we'll be for the final. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I know this is not related to budget, but there's a work session this evening at 4 o'clock for council members, a collaboration work session with Fulton County and the city of our council also in reference to public safety concerns. Just want to remind people of that, but thank you. Yes, thank you for the reminder. So for the public, Ms. Shepherd, will that be up on Channel 26, I assume? Yes, it will be on Channel 26. Okay, yes. So anybody who is interested in that of the discussion that relates to the city of Atlanta jail and corrections between the county and the city, that will be on Channel 26, and I assume that'll also be on the city council social media live stream as well. So thank you for that reminder. And it is at 4 you said at 4:30. 4 o'clock. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. Everybody can tune in to that because I know that we yesterday at FEC we got significant public comment about that issue. All right, everybody have a great weekend and stay safe, and we will be back to pass the budget on June 7th. Thank you.